Okay, I'm not going to do much in response to Kremlin-Jones's response video. It's just full of the usual rubbish. You know, NASA faked the moon landings. 9/11 was some sort of, energy weapon. He didn't actually say that the Queen of England was a shape-shifting lizard from outer space, but he said it before and he's told us he all believes that. That's Jones's critical thinking ability. Of course, his mother, a professional psychologist, said he lives in cloud cuckoo land. He has no grip on reality. Now, this is a fairly good example, I think, because he's just saying now that visiting ETs are about as likely to be true as the tooth fairy.
Hal Puthoff is now backpedaling like mad. He always used to say, I've been working on spacecraft, I know it's true, Now he's saying, I've been told it's true. And I think that's because he thinks he's likely to be subpoenaed. Because remember, he would have told David Grush about this. David Grush, being a government fanboy, loves it.
But he's not going to be subpoenaed, Steve. You can't, because remember, these things don't exist. You can't subpoena someone to a hearing to talk about things that aren't real. You see how far you get setting up a hearing for the tooth fairy. Do you think you can really hold someone to a subpoena of that? No way. You'll be done for contempt of court. Isn't that true, Steve? These things don't exist, remember?
Yeah, you see, he's got a very funny way of thinking about things, hasn't he? I mean, they're claiming these things do exist, so of course he could be subpoenaed in order to prove that, can't he? He said something else as well that I thought was just pathetic. Hang on a sec, I'll just do another clip. Okay, well, there's another clip where Jones clearly demonstrates he's got zero analytical ability.
Lightning psionically. Well, it's actually like C5, isn't it? It's the same thing, different name. C5. Alien contact. He got the alien spacecraft to fly over Phoenix. They can summon these alien spacecraft, full of alien starship full of Starship crew with a Starship captain, Starship first officer, flying across the galaxy, and they're going to be interested in being summoned by an Earthly. Do you think so? They're being...
Well, again, that's anthropomorphizing, as I explained before. It seems strange because you're basically saying, well, if we went to another planet, we wouldn't do that. If we went to some other planet, we wouldn't make strange markings in a cornfield and abduct some wide-eyed yokel and shove probes.
Well, that's right, and aliens wouldn't do it either, because aliens would have gone through an industrial revolution, they would have gone through a technological revolution. They'd be capable of logical thought, they'd be capable of critical thought. They wouldn't waste their time drawing patterns in fields and all this sort of stuff. But Jones can't get his head around this. He's just not smart enough to understand that. If we're talking about aliens that can build spacecraft that can fly around the galaxy, they are going to think a lot like us. You're not going to be able to engineer all that sort of stuff and make it work and then draw a pattern in the field. They're not going to see the logic in that. They just talk to us through a radio telescope, one of our radio telescopes. Or, they wouldn't be remotely interested in abducting lumberjacks or drawing patterns in fields.
Up his ass. We wouldn't do that, so therefore the aliens wouldn't do that to us.
Of course they wouldn't. Jones can't understand this because, he spends his life... this is his whole life, this hobby of his, this ETs coming here and crashing here and visiting here is his whole life. He sits in his basement bedsit, filling his head with all this bloody rubbish off the internet all day and every day when he's not out walking a dog or getting groceries for an OAP. That's Jones's life. If you take that away, what's he got?
But again, that is assumption based on regarding the entire universe of being like us and thinking like us, and seeing the world out there, seeing the world the way we do.
If they're flying around the galaxy, that's exactly what they would be doing.
Summoned? I really don't think so. What the arrogance of that, And you would think, I've said this in a previous video, you would think that summoning an alien spacecraft would be significantly harder than summoning a Cessna. If someone claims this ability, just take them out to a little airport nearby and say, okay, when your Cessna's flying around, people are flying lessons, get that one there to zigzag. Reach out and summon it to zigzag. Because summoning a Cessna to zigzag would be many orders of magnitude easier than summoning an alien spacecraft, I think.
well, if you booked it, if you sort of instructed the pilot beforehand to do that, then there are some things.
If you instructed the pilot beforehand, yeah, to zigzag or fly around in circles, then of course you can do that. That's not summoning it, though, is it? That's not reaching out with your mind to a Cessna that's flying around and getting it to fly around in circles or zigzag. He can't get his head round that. He can't see the difference between reaching out with your mind, telepathically, telekinetically influencing a Cessna to fly around in circles, than prearranging it to fly around in circles with the pilot before it took off. So what he's saying is, for this psionics to work, to be able to summon these alien spacecraft, you would have to have a meeting with the Starship captain somewhere and prearrange for him to sit around in orbit and wait for you to summon him. What, I just don't understand how his mind works. But he's got no. I think even his mother, a professional psychologist, said that he's got no grip on reality. He doesn't understand any of this stuff, and I've said it before. He comments on stuff that he has zero understanding of, and he'll say Simon Hogwash is right about this, that, and the other. When Hogwash is wrong, because Hogwash hasn't got a clue what he's talking about. It's the blind leading the blind. So Jones just does not have the intellectual chops really for these sort of discussions. He makes himself look like a complete and utter idiot every time he does this. I didn't even watch the last reply to me that he did. I don't watch Jones's channel anymore because everything he says is complete and utter rubbish. It's fanboy drivel. Every response of his contains zero facts, zero evidence. It's just not worth watching. So that's as much time as I'm prepared to put into Jonesy and his ridiculous response to to a couple of my videos. People capable of critical thinking, of course, people with an IQ bigger than their shoe size, are going to think that Jonesy looks like a complete cretin when they watch this. As I did, I thought this guy's just he's a fanboy. He's been sucked into this. This is his whole life, and he'll defend it hook line. Well, not hook, line, and sinker. Tooth and nail. That's the expression. Tooth and nail. Even though I think he knows deep down. I think he knows it's all complete and utter rubbish. Otherwise, he wouldn't be drawing comparisons between visiting ETs and a tooth fairy. It's like that mate of his, that fake moon landing crank, Marcus Allen. Marcus Allen and that little crew know that what they're saying about the moon landings being faked is complete and utter rubbish, because they know they have to lie to prove their points, or to attempt to prove their points. The points they make up, they have to lie to try and prove. Now, because they have to do that, they must know that their points are not points at all. They must know that that the moon landings were real. If they've got to lie about it, then they must know the moon landings were real. So, what's it all about? What is actually wrong with these people? What is wrong with Jonesy and Marcus Allen and that half-wit Henderson? There is something wrong with them, isn't there? They're determined to deny reality for reasons best known to themselves. All right, well, I'm not going to waste any more time on Jonesy. That's it. That's your lot. As always, many thanks for watching. And maybe I'll catch you again. I haven't had much time this week to look around to see what's been going on with the ET is here piffle peddlers. I think very little has been going on, but if I find anything that's worth commenting on, I'll make another video later on. It's Sunday, the 18th of May. It's currently 11:50 and I've just stopped for a cup of tea. So I thought I'd whack out a quick video. But I don't think I've seen enough to make another video today. I'll probably make one next week where I'll be pointing out that Arrow has said that everything Grush has told him in this meeting that he's had with Arrow and Burleson and co has been checked out and found to be complete and utter rubbish. I guarantee that's what's going to happen. I can guarantee that's what will happen. And Jonesy will be saying, "Oh, they've been got at, it's just another blue book. They've been set up to deny it all." And of course, if Arrow was saying that yes, it's all real, Arrow would be the greatest thing since sliced bread. See, the difference between Arrow and Jonesy is Arrow need evidence. Arrow need facts. Jonesy will lap up any science fiction drivel and run with it as truth. And it's pathetic it's pathetic to watch. That's why I don't watch him anymore. I'm only watching this. I'm only commenting and watching this because I'm in it. I mean, how could I not watch a video that I'm in? Really. Anyway, cheers for now. Maybe I'll catch you again.